You and I need to be reconciled with ourselves. Shame is healed by having a better ongoing relationship with ourselves, particularly with any parts of ourselves which we judge as weak or defective. How do I see me? Some of us won't forgive and don't know how to forgive because we don't see us clear. We may have relatives of those that we care for who were overcritical or harsh to us, who had good intentions and they wanted to push you to what they thought would be a positive thing in your life, and it did the very opposite. It caused you to feel shameful about yourself. It caused you to feel guilt. It caused you to become this hostile person. It caused you to become this mean individual. It caused you to lose confidence in who you were. It caused you not to have any confidence to begin with. It caused you to compare and to complain and to belittle. A sense of shame can be what actually push us into doing things which we later feel bad about. It can fuel bad addictions, bad habits, social withdrawal, or overly aggressive behavior. If left unchallenged, it can go very far, and it can cause a hindrance in what we do and what we say. And so we find ourselves in these situations where we have to ask ourselves, I must apologize to me. I must say to me, I forgive me for assuming, I forgive me for embracing, I forgive me for internalizing these negative things that was offered me, that was around me, that was my life. And I did not know anything else. I thought there was nothing else. And I did not realize the power of forgiveness. I did not realize that I had the power to overcome this, to not be this. And so we come to the place today that I learned the reason why I'm always blaming someone else for something, why I'm suspicious of everyone, why I have cliques, and why I have this underlining toxic atmosphere of blame and condemnation, and I never find anything that is good in anyone because I find nothing good in me. So, in the world of psychology, they can call this a shame loop, where unfulfilled wants do not go away. They just go underground and come out as addictions and compulsions. And our addiction and compulsive behavior makes us feel ashamed and undeserving. And this cycle is continued over and over. And if we're not careful, we take and we spread this to the generations after us. We get stuck in this loop. We get stuck in this environment. And no one is forgiving anybody. Not who we feel this from, neither are we forgiving ourselves for accepting it. And no matter who we may come in contact with in our future, we still bring this type of mentality. And many times they try to help us to understand. Don't you understand you're responsible for some of this negativity? Even though it may have been given to you as a child, when you became older, you should have learned something else. You should have learned how beautiful you were. You should have learned how important you are. You should have been around people who could tell you that God loves you. And so do I. No matter what the atrocities that have been, no matter what the circumstances would have been, you must keep a spirit of forgiveness, because if you don't and you allow these things to build up in you, you will find yourself being a person of addictions, bad behaviors, and compulsions that are not beneficial. We're still talking about the practical. We haven't even gotten to the spiritual. But I hope you're beginning to understand the power of forgiveness. There is a type of entity of self-preservation that this word, when practiced, can bring to the very being of who we are. But many of us, because of our ego, because of our upbringing, because of our thinking, look at it as weakness. So I must ask myself, and I must ask you, when we learn to release our shame through forgiveness, the compulsion it creates will also dissipate. And we break out of this shame loop and we become free. We break out of this bondage and we become free. The thing about freedom, though, is that freedom is a responsibility. Once I am free from guilt and shame, once I am free from anxiety and depression, it is my responsibility to stay free. It is not yours. It is mine. And I must understand my worth. Because no matter what has happened in my life, no matter what has come across my path, if I don't keep the attitude of forgiveness, I can succumb to what it is. And that may not be what God has for me. That may not be what life was supposed to teach me. And I can tell you, that is not how we were intended to live. Free yourself. Forgive you. Because there's power in forgiveness. We thank you once again for listening. And your exercise for this class too is the same. Write the name of the person or persons who you need to forgive. Write what they have done. And write it in detail. Because after you've done this, I'm going to give you another exercise as to what to do with it. Write their name, write what they did, and then write the last part as what do you see in your future by forgiving the benefit for you. Because there's going to be a benefit if you forgive. What do you see? I'll leave you with this. God desires us to be the ones who will forgive. If indeed He is our perfect example, then we already know what we must do. But what He did was not only tell us, but He showed us. And then He sent back His help, His Spirit, to enable us. Cry. Get through it. And make it a practice that I'm going to get through this and forgive. Because I have no idea when I'm going to need God to forgive me. And if we're honest, if we're really honest, we need Him to forgive us every day for the sins of omission as well as commission. Some things I just didn't do that I should have. I omitted it. I don't care what the circumstance is. I just did. And then some things I did on purpose and I should not have done. But I did. And He yet forgave me because He says He gives us new mercies every morning. So every day that I wake up, it's a day that He's forgiven me. It's a day that I have a chance, an opportunity, a privilege to communicate with Him. Make your life count by identifying these areas in your life and asking God, help me to get through this, because this is not pleasing in your sight. The author, Mr. Martin, is taking us and helping us to identify the practical things. I can't get to the spiritual until I deal with the natural. So in this class, let us practice. Let us practice what's going on in our lives. Identify where you need to forgive and who you need to forgive. God bless you. Looking forward to teaching our next class.